Okay, guys, so welcome back. Now we're going to start on our next session, which is session number 8. Tomorrow is number 9, and then Tuesday will be our final one. We're going to pull all this stuff together for everybody. We've got some people trickling in, so if for those of you who are coming in, be sure to mute so that we don't distract. But tonight, let's do it a little bit differently. What I'd like to really do is make this more about the workshop. And let's see if we can't get some things going. Now, for some of you, I know Edwin, you and Kimberly, Darren, Eric, some of you guys have been through this, but many of the other ones have not. So I'm going to go ahead and start off here with not really with a slideshow, but let's let me hit screen share. Just going to show a slide or two. And then we'll just jump in here, bada bing, bada boom, maybe. And everything's backwards. It defaults to backwards. Okay, everybody's here. You should see the cup of coffee, whatever. We're good? Okay. All right, so let's just, I really want to revisit this. This is going to have this is everything. The way you're perceived is everything, guys. If you're perceived as just a guy with a truck, and there are companies out there that have 15 trucks, and the public still perceives them as a guy with a truck because they don't take their visual image seriously. And by seriously, I mean vitally seriously. Then it's going to have an impact. You should be renewing yourself as an individual and most certainly as a business all of the time. That's part of growth. But once we have that attitude of, I have arrived, I know everything, we're just destined to stumble and fall at that point. So we just have to be mindful of that. This is the latest job that our buddies over there, and I keep forgetting their name. And I'm not pushing them, but I just thought it was a really good job, and he shared it with us. Anthony over, I'll mention, I'll give him a plug later, but whatever. But the point is, so one of these vector eyes, that's what you call this, logo, the wraps are sitting there, and you pull up in your truck. How do you feel parked beside a vehicle like that? Hopefully, I know a couple of you guys have good wraps, and I'm not speaking to any individuals, just generally speaking, we always want our impression to be, number one, have a visual impact, have an emotional feel with that, because emotions are part of judgment. They're going to judge you emotionally and turn around and try to intellectualize and justify it, right? Intellectually justify their emotional response is what it boils down to. And that's just human nature. That's the way we work. So be sure and take your image, take your opinion and get it out of the way and measure it and test it and look at those hard, ugly, rude, mean, criticizing, gosh, what's the word? Details or data that's criticizing you, and learn from them. Don't fall in love with your own logo. Don't fall in love with your own name. Don't fall in love with your own message. Find out what kicks tail and go do that. So I just can't, if I was starting a business today, I would go drop 25 grand and have one of these guys do it A1. I'd have heavy influence in it, of course, because like Anthony said, you should be communicating your story. What is your story? What is your message? It's marketable, right? Way back when we did our program on, what is it unique about you that you can project and enlarge? Maybe you have that tobacco or that, or not a tobacco, but a cigar or a pipe or a certain kind of hat or like we did on our little exercise. I'll show you in a little bit, the Mario Brothers looking uniforms, things that make you so unique that people are, realize you can't be confused with the competition. That's what it boils down to. All right, so let's go back to talk about nuts. This gentleman and his name escapes me, and that's not on there, is he was the CEO of Southwest Airlines back in the day, back when we had good customer service. But he was asked at one point, what is it about your airlines that makes you so much better than all the competition? Why is it that Southwest Airlines is so much better than, this airlines, that airlines, and the other? And he said, it's not so much better. He said it is 1% better. But it's 1% better in every possible category that can be measured by the customer. The way the customer is greeted, the way the customer is seated, the snacks that they receive, therefore the nuts, the experience that they have, buying the ticket, collecting their baggage, anything that they can influence as an airline. They looked for a way to beat every competitor that they had in their market, which was international, well, national certainly, and beat their customers by at least 1%. So what does that mean to us? Guys, this is powerful. This is really, 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 really important. If you can beat everybody in your in your local market, at least by 1%, in the areas that we're going to talk about, you're going to have a really powerful impact and impression in a positive way in your market. People will know you. Your competition will dislike you because you are going to have an impact on their bottom line as well. So let's revisit, first of all, the power of words. So let's open this back up, and I'm going to stop sharing here, and bear with me while I do whatever I got to do. I've got some chat here. Make me feel about the position. Okay, good. Dan, I said, I think I called him Anthony. Cool. Anybody? I'm trying to find my windows here. There we go. Okay. So you have this beautiful wrap. You have this beautiful logo. You have this powerful impact. How are your technicians dressed? How do their uniforms look? Are they wearing shorts and t-shirts, or they have a little collar on a nicer shirt? Do they have a professional image that meshes well with the vehicle image? And what we just spoke about, what we just showed on the display, what about the words that come out of their mouth? No, that don't matter, Pete. Some of you guys in here already know this because we've spoken about it in great detail. And I'm going to have to pop up another window here. Just bear with me as we go. Okay, here we are. So there was an exercise that was done. What are the most powerful words in the English language? And this was the result here. The number one most powerful word in the English language is you. And we can go down the list here, but money, save, new, results, easy, health, safety, love, discovery, proven, guarantee. And I'm just riffing this. You're going to love the results you get from this new system, the healthier air, the safety features that are built in. And when you discover, you know what I'm saying, you start blending this into the salesy portion. At this point, you're going to paint a mental picture that has emotional impact, and ultimately you will be perceived in a positive way. But there's also the other side, the technical speak, the things we don't want to be talking. And I've always used the expression, let me check the truck and see if I have your part. Let me call the shop and see if we have a part. Guys, people aren't paying $500, $600, $1,000 for your service very easily when you're painting a mental image of a shop. A shop in my mind is just like back in the day, 70s, greasy rags laying around, automotive shop. You know what I'm saying? Got the big old barrels sitting in the corner in the grease pump and all that stuff, and the nasty uniforms. the words that come out of our mouth are going to have an impact on how receptive your customers are to your services. Our processes that we're getting ready to talk about that need to be 1% better need to be delivered at least 1% better. We deliver our communication through the spoken word. So we don't say the shop. We don't say the truck. We don't say the girls in the office. We've spoken about that. We don't say that kind of stuff. Even on the technical end, this was from one of our prior classes, capacitor. He called it a voltage absorbing system. And we've spoken about this as well. If I'm gonna go change your capacitor, and and they go look it up on the internet, you know what kind of conflict that creates. But it delivers a level of quality in terms of impression that's much more professional, right? Evaporator coil, he calls it a heat absorption system. It does absorb heat. It also removes moisture, dehumidifies. So let's talk about some of the words we don't want to say. We don't want to say the shop. The words we used back in the 90s was our service center. And that is not out of date. It's something we can still use. I can call the service center. I can check my service vehicle and see if we can find the proper replacement component for your system, not your unit. Don't tell them a salesman's coming to check on them. They can be a comfort consultant. They can be a project manager. They can be comfort advisor. They can be a host of different topics, whatever it is that you choose to set yourself apart. And again, this is highly customized to your image. So as you're building your vocabulary, now what we did, let me just explain this. What we did is we had a game. We sat down as a company and we formulated a strategy in which we listed all of our no-no words, and then we had everybody share, and we came up as a team a good replacement word. And they didn't have to say one word. Maybe they had 2 or 3 options. It was up to them, but we definitely avoided the bad words. And as best we could, we incorporated the good words. And so what we did is the game was, if you said a bad word, you had to put a quarter in the box. Maybe it's $1 these days. Or your name went into the box, and then there was a drawing at the end of the week, and if you lost, you had to be the first to do a presentation or something, because we did training every week. Guys, this is part of your culture as well. We're going to get into that. So there's a host of words that we need to visit, and we don't want to say the word contract. Hey, if you'll just sign this contract right here, right? The word sign, no. If you'll authorize this agreement, make your initial investment. We'll get started either Tuesday, Thursday. You know what I'm saying? So we're essentially, what we're trying to do is add class to your business. When my sister ran my office and she attended my classes, we learned this originally from Ron Smith, and we went through this whole exercise program. And she and I had fallen out, so she'd quit one week or I'd fire her the next. It was brother and sister, But anyway, she left and she went to work for a big company over in Charlotte, North Carolina. And they were like, you bring class to our business. She was the customer service rep. She would dispatch everything. And she basically ran the entire service side. And that was the impression that she had left, because the vocabulary stuck with her. So what are we doing to be better? How do we outclass all of our local competition through vocabulary? Do not, please don't underestimate me on this one. Don't underestimate the importance of this one, because this is not just fluff. This actually has an impact. When you go in and tell Mrs. Smith, hey, Jane, where's your air conditioner? That doesn't have the same feel, or whatever her name is, Mrs. Johnson. If as Mrs. Johnson, maybe we see, oh, you can call me Jane, maybe they'll do that, but try to keep it professional. That's the point. Try to keep it professional, utilize the right vocabulary, and build an experience for your customers. Let them go, wow, that was different. Because particularly if you're doing proposals and you're wanting to go out there and have that impression, maybe you are the highest priced service call in the area, but when they see your image online, they see your vehicle and you pull up and they get that impression and they have this professional person, they immediately somehow justify it in their own heart. Oh, okay, I see why they're higher now. And it becomes okay. And your higher price becomes okay. On some level, they may work lip service another way, right? So that's the point. Can we open that up for questions and answers? Let's talk about vocabulary a little bit, because I really don't want to pass this too quickly. It's just such a key element in my mind, at least.
Well, I'll just go all the way back to the service vehicle. So for me, having a service vehicle and uniforms, I went and I only paid $800. I don't have the best wrap, which I would love to have someday. But, you know, as far as I just designed a professional, looks real classy, shows what we do. It says on there, ask about our specials for my service vehicle. So that way, I mean, I do have not a wrap vehicle, but I have a logoed vehicle, which makes me look professional. And I did that within like the first month of being in business. And I went out and got uniforms, you know, the collar mechanic shirt with the logo on the side. And then every time I am inside customers' houses, like Pete's saying here, I'm always trying to watch my vocabulary and build on that to say, you know, to sound more professional. You know, because that way you don't just sound like a Craigslist hire, and instead you're, you know, a real company. So that's what I'm shooting for.
I think that very well said. Listen, guys, it doesn't mean you need to go out and drop $20,000, $25,000. Okay, we're not saying that at all. Most importantly, whatever you have is immaculately clean. Put some Armor All in your tires. Get the paperwork off the top of the dash. If you ever open up your side door, your back door, and your customers are witnesses to this, they can't see crap all stacked in there. They need to see organized, organization within your vehicle. Everything's in its proper place, and there's not junk everywhere. It reminds me. I used to work for a company. This was one of the very last jobs I had before I started my business. The guy was anal, forgive me, anal about this stuff. It had to be clean. And so we did that, and we had the best tools and all of these cool things for making a proper analysis. And I remember Brent, he was one of the lead guys. He had a little bit more experience than I. He was about my age, but he was good. He'd been around a long time since he was a kid. And he pulls in, and the customer looks at him. He's breaking all these instruments and digital stuff, and he's looking and he says, boy, this is going to cost me. Right? So everything has an impression. He saw, here's a professional vehicle, a well-dressed uniform technician, proper instrumentation, and he knows this is not cheap. Subconsciously, your customers know this. But people love me because my work is beautiful and the best. Is self-delusion. No, they don't. They really don't. I think a piece of them does. I don't want to put that in totally out of perspective, but people are about themselves, and everything that comes out of your mouth is blah blah blah, like peanuts back when we were kids, until until they hear what's in it for them. And so our entire communication style needs to cater to that, the cleanliness of our appearance, and no matter where we are in the stage of bringing up our image, it needs to be the best it is at this time, right? Darren, he's got a nice wrap. I like his logo. He's kind of, unique in his market. I know, Kimberly and Edwin, they spend a lot of money on their wrap. They just redid theirs. But no matter how good yours is, how can we make it better? We always have to, don't wait for your your competition to just pass you with theirs. Every so often, raise the bar again. Just keep them chasing you, right? Keep it fresh. That's the point. Okay. So, yes, sir.
Going on what you were talking about the words, instead of giving them like the capacitor or the contactor or the blower motor, I use Joe's system, but anyway, always tell them what the device does, not what it is. And then you have an electrical fault in your air distribution system. Well, that's your indoor blower mode. And that way, they, just like you said, they don't run to the internet and start looking these things up, because if they do, they're not going to find it. And then it's just in the delivery of how you put that to the customer. And we've had very little pushback as far as, well, that only costs $10, that only costs $15 or whatever. I haven't had that.
Thank you, George. And yeah, Joe's really dialed in on this. But listen, there's more than one way. You can have your own vocabulary. You can have your own look. You don't have to follow my system exactly the way I do it, or Joe's, or Sam's, or anybody's. You can come in. Somebody mute me there. Hang on a minute. Let me mute everybody. Bear with me. Got a little feedback. You know, you can put your own flavor to it. In fact, I would encourage you to do just that. Whenever you guys want to speak, just unmute. If somebody has some background noise. So I would encourage you to do just that, right? Is make this your own. But in every category, you need to have a process that outshines your competition. And this is the one exception. It's not enough to say, it's not the words that come out of your mouth, but it's your actions that make the difference. This is the one exception. Your words that come out of your mouth are going to paint a picture. And that's the point there. And we can certainly move on from that. So let's talk about other processes. I remember we were the very first in our market to put flat rate into effect. Everybody was by the hour. This is a long time ago. And we were also the first to put cookbook pricing in. And I remember the trainer on the cookbook pricing, when we were out learning how to incorporate this new system, he asked the question, how many times have you manually calculated the same 2.5 or 3 ton, 80% furnace and a 12 SEER condensing unit and what have you? That's basically the same thing every time, and you're just duplicating this process. Essentially, what he was saying is, Pete, you're wasting your time. Why don't you calculate that one time, and then the variables, just calculate those on the fly. So if we know pretty much what a standard installation is every time, that becomes part of our system. So it's a similar thing in all of our processes. And here's an example. In any franchise, McDonald's, Burger King, even in the service industry, your experience, the consumer's experience is always the same. McDonald's French fries in Fresno, California is the same as it is up there in New York City, okay? Because it's the same potato, it's the same amount of, the same type of grease, the same exposure within that, at the same temperature for the same amount of time. It's all consistent, maybe even the same amount of salt, I don't know. But the point is, people love consistency and they hate surprises, especially bad ones. With the one exception being a good surprise. We all like that, being pleasantly surprised. But the point is, your systems are going to discipline you to a repeated step over and over again. So if you go to your gymnasium, you do the same routines every week and every month and every year, and you're going through, the human body adapts, of course, but you're still going to be in great shape, right? Because there's consistency there. But when you go in on a service call and you do these cool things one time, the customer loves you, and then you get in your routine, you kind of fall out of habit, you've lost the effect. You've got to hold yourself to a discipline. That's what the process is about. And back to my other point, duplicating these same things over and over. Let's talk about this. How many times do your employees call you and ask you, hey, boss, how do I fill out this service invoice again, even if it's digital? Hey, boss, how do I do this again? Or what's the phone number to such and such parts house? Or where's the closest supply house to over here in this part of town? All these different questions. How much of your time are you wasting answering questions that you could literally put in print, put it as you have a service technician hand guide, maybe you have a maintenance installation, a maintenance technician hand guide, installation crew hand guide, of books of documents that are specific to them. Weekly, we go through the training and remind them this is how you do it. And hey, if they don't know how to fill out the service invoice, they flip it open and there's the sample filled out, highlighted with a highlighter marked through it. This is how it's done. Maybe it's a screenshot of your digital system if you're using tablets and things like that. But the process, we can put it right in there. Your automotive insurance, what to do in the event of an automotive accident. Everybody has accidents. Eventually, you're going to have some of your vehicles are going to get an fender bender. Number one, do not move the vehicle. Number two, call the police immediately. Do not call the office, whatever. Number three, here's a copy of the insurance. All these different things, it's prepared for you, for your employee. And you know it's done right because they're prepared. You've done all this ahead of time. Every account that you have the name of the account, the address where they're located, their hours of operation, the products that they sell, and the phone number. So they're not calling you, hey boss, what's the number to, Johnstone or Granger or whoever, right? So these are things that we systemize once, and we're not taken out of our daily routine. You're not pulled out of your job to go do these things. This is part of the internal process. But the one that's going to have the most impact is the external. The touch points with your customer. Back to that nuts guy. So what are some of the touch points? Let's open this up for conversation. At what point could your employee interact with a customer or potential customer? What's the first one? Anybody?
At the front door.
Even before that. Good one, George. We're going to go to that one next.
You can either call ahead or have it where it's you have a bio with a picture sent via text to the customer.
That's a good one. Even one step before that, George, you're getting there. You're getting there.
Technician's interaction?
Any customer's interaction or potential customer actions with a representative from your company begins
with the CSR.
Yeah, amen. Good job. Good job.
Dispatch.
Good job. Dispatch. Thank you, Wayne. Whoever answers that phone is the first second impression after whatever your digital image or your vehicle going back. That's why they called you. Maybe your advertisement. That's why they called you. And now here's the reality of it. The lowest paid employee on a typical HVAC company, the least trained employee on a typical HVAC company is the person that answers the phone, and it's ridiculous. It's sad. We can't do that. We're 1%ers. So what if we had a customer service representative that was highly trained? I've got somebody in the box. Okay, thanks. Is highly trained and highly prepared, and they take. Here's the connection that I want to make. When we do advertising to people that don't know us, before the recording, one of the people in the group was saying, "I need a good marketing, source." These marketing sources, and we've done this on a prior video. What is your closing ratio on this, that, and the other? But when it's a cold marketing source, they don't know you. Your closing ratio drops drastically. Sam said the average industry was 20%. I discovered even less depending on which source it was. Okay, we all have to market. We all have to advertise and draw in new customers. But when your visual impression goes bam, they get a good feeling, good color combination. Then they go to your website and boom, easy, intuitive, easy to work. They call, and then here's this voice that is highly professional that just leads their hand and makes them feel that much better. You are literally breaking that wall down one brick at a time and making it so much easier for your frontline service or frontline installation or frontline key people to be successful when they go in, particularly if they have processes that work within that. You've already brought that down. Why? Closing ratio of a cold marketing was average industry 20%. Closing ratio of somebody referring you maybe 30, 35, 40%. Closing ratio of a service technician referral is 50% or better. Closing ratio of a lifetime customer, somebody that has your maintenance agreement program, is 80+%. So it gets better as a relationship. We spend so much of our time marketing externally, and it's very important to get to this point, but it's internally is where the magic is made. But we still have to bring them in externally successfully, and we have to improve our chances of success by making sure that because at every step you're going to lose some. You start with 1,000 people that see your image, and then maybe 900 go. I'm just pulling these numbers. 900 go to your website, and then 800 call your phone, and then 700 actually set the appointment, and then 600 will actually do business with. And it just gets less because you lose one. With every additional step your customers have to make, you're going to lose a few. It's called a funnel, sales funnel, process funnel. And so we want to be 1% better so that we don't lose anybody. So on your call taker that both George and Wayne brought up, or the person that's handling the calls, they need to be very polished, highly trained, have a script or guideline. They need to be themselves, but there's a guideline. Step 1, step 2, grab the name. Maybe your part of your process is to answer every question and follow with an immediate control question. Take control question like, how much do you charge for a service call? Hey, maybe and I'm just winging this. We have a low diagnostic fee of $49 per month. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with us, right now? And so get their name and then try to take charge. In what part of town are you, Mrs. Jones? Blah, blah, blah. So we have a process. But even at the very beginning, anybody have a nice one-liner when you answer the phone? Hey, this is Pete's Heating and Air. Anybody? Oh, come on, bashful people. Nobody?
Well,
so
the only thing
George.
we say is, thank you for calling Advan Air. This is George, and that's what I say. That's it.
That's good. That's good. Now, there's a psychological term called a pattern interrupt. And it's a thing where it's like somebody's thinking a certain way, but something surprises them and it kind of breaks that negativity up. And that's the idea here. You don't have to do this. But I remember my train territory manager coming in and nobody's around. He grabbed the phone, and my company was called Ramsey Services at the time. And he says, "It's a great day at Ramsey Services. How can I help you? This is Tim." He was just so upbeat. He was a sales guy through and through. He's way up trained now. But back in the day, I thought, I like that. I'm going to keep that. And then, of course, we added how can we make you more comfortable? It's a great day at Ramsey Services. How can we make you more comfortable today? So somebody's going to call in and they got a little, that was different. And they can actually, and they just kind of forgot what they were mad about. And so it just drops a little bit of resistance. That's all that is. But that's fine, George. It's whatever works, but do call all your competition and see what they're doing. How are they answering the phone? I guarantee you that some of the big boys are going to say something that you're not expecting. Call them and try them. Use caller ID block before you do it. Right? So you go through a script. The other piece is, what is the most common objection question? When people don't have a relationship with you, they're going to try to disqualify. Okay, I got to go through, call a few companies and choose one. So generally the only thing they know to measure on is price. Somebody say something?
They always ask you, how much is it to come out and look at my AC? Right. That's usually their first.
That's
question.
All they know to measure you by. That's all they know. That's all they know. So we have to deal with that. We have to put systems in that protect us from that. How much do you charge for Freon? How much do you charge for a 2-ton unit? How much you charge to replace my motor? It's not spinning. So if you think ahead of time, and the example we've been using on the refrigerant is, why, Mrs. Jones, have you done business with us before? You haven't. Do you know we have a new customer promotion that if you have a refrigerant leak, as long as you fix it, we will gratis you the first 2 pounds of refrigerant for free as a way of welcoming you to the Ramsey family. Something along these lines, right? Something that's prepared, something that takes an objection designed to disqualify you and turn that and convert that into an appointment. That's what this needs to do, right? So that's a sample overview of a process. And I don't want us to run too long on one piece. So George mentioned, go ahead.
I got something. So my wife answers the phones for us, and I've kind of helped her guide the customer to tell her what's going on with the system, just in case I can't get out there that day. So she'll go through a checklist of what's going on, and then she might give the customer a tip, say if their AC is freezing. And if that helps, but we'll schedule her for that customer for a maintenance, or for me to come out and look and actually diagnose what the real problem is, say the next day or whenever they're available. So it kind of helps, we're there for the customer. We're trying to help them out, even though we can't help them out right now.
Exactly. Thank you. Now that brings up 2 points. Number one, you're fortunate to have a family member answering your phone. They're going to treat it like their own because it is their own, but this is why you have to have a process, because at some point you're going to have to turn that over to an employee. And as much as you think your employees love you, they're not going to treat it like you would or like your wife would. So this is one piece. But the other piece is larger companies would leverage that against you. But as a smaller company, you have to do what you have to do, but be very careful on sending your customers to check different like breakers and things like that. Now, what you may do is go ahead and say, go to your thermostat, take the system to the off position, and under the fan, turn it to the on position, and we'll be along in a little while. This will help it thaw out if in the event there's any ice in there or something like that. Because you know from experience, right?
Yeah.
So, but I wouldn't take them past the thermostat, not even the breakers, because they could come back on you. He told me to do this, and now my husband's in the hospital, or you never know. So just be careful.
She just usually basic check filter and turn the fan on for the time being. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Wayne. One step backwards. Mark had a comment over in the group chat. He says, when somebody asks me how much for maintenance, he said, I say it's $89, and then we go through your whole system plus benefit, and benefit, and benefit. And so that is part of communicating why benefit, not feature, what's in it for me. You get this, you get that, you experience this, you experience that. Now you're speaking to what's important to them. And I mean, we're all wired that way. Same thing with repair. Same thing with an install price. Give the bad news and at least 3 benefits after that. Good point, Mark. And this sounds like Joe's stuff as well. Very good. So now what? If your call taker also dispatches, and generally if you're a large enough organization, you don't want that. Now, here's why. Dispatching is pretty stressful sometimes. And so here comes these calls and here comes these calls. If that dispatcher is answering the phone, that energy of, oh gosh, where am I going to put this call, may be unintentionally transferred or communicated. But if the call taker, if all they do is take it, and we'll be scheduling you right away, and we'll call you and know you exactly when it is, whatever your process is, that positive energy stays positive and it stays separated. But you do have to go through a dispatch. Your dispatcher should have a way of sorting priorities, not just for your customer, but also for your business, and also assigning the right technician to the right job based on experience, based on communication style, based on the ability to sell. You have a 15-year-old system, who you're going to send out, right? You know these things instinctively, but we can actually build a system. It's not that hard, step by step. We do this as a group, and we go step by step, and we put something together that fits for you in your situation. No piece of software is going to be the perfect match for you. It just doesn't work that way. You build your system first, then you find the software that will support that as well as possible. And then where needed, you still do the manual hands-on, because remember, in the world of high tech, people love high touch. They want to deal with people. Texts are nice, but talking to somebody face to face is just wonderful, especially if they have a demeanor that is pleasant. And a lot of that pleasant demeanor is nothing more than step 2 and step 3 of what you told them to do. That stuff that you do that made you successful as a one-man operation and you think anybody can do it, and then you send somebody out and they don't want them back. They want you back. It's because they don't know what you know. And sometimes you don't know what you know because you just do it. That's just who you are. That's okay. We go by and we go back and we structure. There's a communication process, preparing, keeping our customers up to date. You know, how's the traffic? How long is this call? We have a time window instead of an exact appointment time, because obviously as a heating and air company, we don't know how long each repair is going to take. And if you have a couple of calls in line before this particular customer, we have to be able to communicate that in a way that's pleasant, that makes the customer still feel special. Anybody can dispatch, but not everybody can dispatch 1% better. What can you do? We talked about on the private group, what if you had the ability to enable tracking, and they could see the service vehicle once you determine, of course, not all the time, it's en route. You can watch him come in on the website or on this app or whatever, and they can watch, just like Uber. These are little things that are coming. It exists to a certain degree, but live in real time, coming right up to your house. That's pretty cool. These are the kind of things that will support you, but the main thing is that communication. It works just as well for that tech to call. Hey, Mrs. Jones, this is Bob. Hey, yeah, I'm on my way over right now. We got a little bit of traffic over here on Main, but doesn't look like it's going to hold up too long. I should be there in about 10 minutes. Does that sound okay? That's even better. Technical is cool. Real people are better. And then there is the service experience, for example. Somebody want to talk about theirs? Where do you park? What do you do?
Hey, can we back up for a second?
Absolutely.
This is one of the things we kind of struggle with, is if you have a tech, myself or Nathan, and they call the customer, then that customer captures your cell phone number. Do you know of a way to, I don't know, spoof the number back to like it's your office calling? Otherwise, the customer is going to call that technician if they like them, if they trust them, going to start calling that technician directly. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, makes perfect sense. They'll abuse that. Let me research that. Somebody have an answer for that you've dealt with that?
It's an extra charge from Verizon.
Go ahead, Zeke.
It's an extra charge from Verizon.
And what does it do? What does Verizon do? Is it just caller ID block, or does it show your company phone number as the number? Or what does it do? Display.
It'll show the company number.
Like it. How's that sound, George? See if your cell phone providers offer that service.
I will. It is Verizon too, so I'll talk to them tomorrow afternoon.
Great. Thank you, Zeke.
Cool. Thanks.
Awesome. So yeah, as we're going into the service call and we're looking for a process, same thing with your maintenance call, same thing with your comfort advisor. Do you have step 1, step 2, step 3? Do you meet with your team? I sat with my service department every Tuesday. We took an hour off, and not Monday. Mondays are crazy. But early in the week. Why early in the week? Because I'm going to teach them something new this week. And I don't want to teach them on Friday because I want them to try it today. I want them to try it tomorrow. I want them to try it the next day. I want them to try it the next day. And I want them getting used to it. So as early in the week as possible. We met. We go through the flow chart. We go through the process. We would make it a combination meeting. Zeke, tell me about that service call over at the church. Why didn't the pastor decide to install that blower motor? And that was a literal question for a customer of mine, for an employee of mine. And he told me, he said, Pete, he said the price was too high, and I couldn't blame him. It was. Dude, I was all over that. Right there, we cleared everything out. We did the grease board like I use over here, step by step by step. We broke down every cost of everything, of every tech, and I illustrated with them and showed them because we were new on flat rate pricing, so they hadn't adjusted. So the problem was him. It wasn't the pastor. The problem was he was saying, here's your price. Maybe not with that much emphasis, but people read body language. People know when you're comfortable. It's a good price. You better take advantage because the price is going up next week. I don't know. But we did that. And at the time, I think our prices were based on $120 an hour. And we took uniform costs. We took every possible thing, added it up. We took our efficiency, factored that in, and we come up to $119 an hour. And I said, guys, we're charging $120. The same guy looked at me and said, we need to go up. I tell this story from time to time because it just had such an impact. And I explained to him, I said, now what's not factored into that $120 an hour or the markup? Now this is a long time ago, guys. I know your prices are higher than this. What's not factored in there are markup on parts and pieces, and we have a trip charge in there, whatever else. So we're okay. We're still making money, but you can see we're not getting rich here. We're providing a valuable service. The point is, through training, you get behavior, but you also get buy-in. When your customers' beliefs do not align with your beliefs, you're not going in the same direction, and you'll never get to the destination that you want. They're going to resist you. I still get these calls, I just want to sell the company, get rid of these employees, and go back to work for somebody else. I'm tired of this. The problem is the leader. The problem is the leader because they don't know how to lead yet. Just like you didn't know how to change that compressor for the first time or replace that condenser for the first time properly. But you got some training, you got a little experience before you know it. You got darn good at it. It's the same thing. Being a leader is the same thing. So developing processes, creating training, even role playing. Your techs are going to hate role playing at first, but ultimately they're going to get used to it, and then they'll start showing off. But it's a gradual process. You should have a flow chart. Step 1, you park in this location. Step 2, you knock on the door. You don't ring the doorbell. You normally, and because remember the old saying, salespeople ring the doorbell, but neighbors knock and family knock. Step back, give them their personal space. All these different things that you guys know. Photo ID badge. He's already checked his uniform. Everything's tucked in. The shoes are clean, and the shoe covers are in hand. Right? Whatever it is, you've gone through this, and you've literally role played it right in your training facility, even if it's out back, where you have the space, and you go through, and you get to see not only how they look under pressure, and you as the owner are going to give them a lot of pressure. If they can perform well under your pressure, they'll do really well with the customer because they don't have that on top of them. But you can also watch those belief systems start to leak through. And these are training opportunities. These are opportunities to redirect your business and put it back on track to the destination that you see. How many steps would you have on a typical process? As many as necessary to make it 1% better, to make it as good as you possibly can, Mark, because it doesn't need to be an entire mind map chart of every single detail, but each box should be easily symbolized by whatever statement. Park the vehicle on the street, and that automatically means in the right direction with the flow of traffic, not against traffic, not on their grass and not with on the curb, right? You can talk these things through, but just keep it simple. Go through all your steps, and then you can elaborate in your training. But if they have let me see if I have one. It's just one I did for, I don't know, I don't have that up. I'll pull it up real quick for you guys. I use a lot of Joe's stuff as well. I like his service stuff. Again, this is your stuff too. Once it becomes your intellectual property, use it, make it your own, and Joe's a great guy. He loves that. So here's one that I did, and this is just pretty crappy, but it's just something we did on this little exercise. Step 1, park the vehicle in the proper location. Step number 2, you check your physical appearance. Step number 3, knock on the door and step back. Right now, that says what we already explained. Don't, knocking is better than ringing. Step back because you don't want to crowd your customer. They don't know you. There's no relationship yet. Introduce yourself and offer a business card. Engage the customer. We go through an exercise is what that means. Ask questions and listen. I put that big because if you're too busy waiting on the next question you're going to ask, they know you're not listening. If you don't write it down, they know you're not listening. If they say something important, write it down. Visit the equipment with the customer. That means engaging them, getting them involved. They are buying into your process. They are becoming a part of this experience. They're part of the success of this repair experience because they got involved. Diagnose the system, right? Briefly mention your service agreement, the benefits and the discounts, all this stuff. You present your bundled top solution, right? Get approval. If not, move to your medium solution. Get approval. If not, go to your basic solution. But the point is, at that point, you need to call your dispatcher. Hey, dispatcher, I've been approved to do this, this, and this. This should take me about 2 hours. Now the dispatcher can work, has something to work with instead of just being a total mystery as to how long that technician is going to be there. 1 hour, 3 hours, half the day, 3/4 of the day, whatever. So once the dispatcher has been advised, we go into complete the repairs or improvements, whatever that is. We do the things like label the equipment. Hopefully you do that. Clean up all the work areas. Go over the work or cover it with the customer as needed. They'd love to hear that stuff. Start breaking it down. Then we'll start talking about recommendations. Maybe new options. What's new in the HVAC technology and it would work on this system? How about Wi-Fi? You can put it, the same old stuff. So they don't know unless you share this stuff with them. Prepare your invoice, collect the money, thank them for their business, inform your dispatcher before you depart, and you're right on down the road. That's just a basic one. And by no means an all-inclusive. You've got steps that you're going to want to add. But the point is, without a structure, you don't know what your techs are doing when they're out there. Unless you've gone through this and you kind of know what to expect. Now, let's hover on that one just for a minute. We need to do a similar process and flow chart for your maintenance technician. We've got let me back up. We have the follow-up call. Make sure everybody's happy because if your technician does the follow-up call, how did I do? Did I do okay? Oh, you did fine. They're not going to tell them if there was a little something in the back of their mind that they didn't like. But if you have somebody from your office, for example, call in, these are little subtle things, but they do make a big difference. Bob was out there. Did he do okay? Did he do a good job? Did he clean up after himself? Was there anything he could have done better? Well, where he touched the thermostat, he left a smudge on the wall. I didn't want to say anything to him because he's so nice. Don't you worry, Mrs. Jones. You know what I'm saying? You reward that, and that's an opportunity for training, for improvement, for making your process even better. It's all about being the best you got to be the best everywhere, not just being the best at what the equipment loves and appreciates out of your company. The equipment can be happy as a lark, but if that customer's not happy, you are not coming back. And this is what we've got to get as our industry under full control, right? I'm going to jump in the chat box real quick, give you guys a chance to, okay, my biggest problem opportunity as I tend to get very detailed. You maybe want to elaborate on that, George. Is there a recommendation form that companies use? Can you share that flow chart? Bill, Darren, you've been through the program. I'll make sure you get that. And actually, yeah, I think I got a printed copy of that on writing the process.
I get too detailed when I write the process. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. I was confused in two different thoughts, George. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, I'm not here to push me and my system, but we do that. We do it as a team. We do it as a group, group coaching, just like everything else. But my best advice, if you want to do it on your own, is to get team up with somebody else that has to go through their process and kind of compare notes and just figure out as a team how to simplify things a little bit. Maybe even your wife, because generally smarter than we are and things like that, right? Because you're right. I mean, we're looking at every single detail. If if step number one was to pull a vacuum, and that's the way I articulated it in the step, on a technical step, but in the module entitled pulling a proper evacuation of an HVAC system, I've got a micron gauge in there. I've got the oversized hoses on the gauges, and, you know, special, not passing through the manifold, but going directly, you know, for the optimal vacuum. And, you know, all whatever it is my steps include are represented by pull a proper vacuum. So symbolize it with basic descriptions. That's my best advice. And then within that, you can have all the detail you want, and make that a separate training course for your guys. If hopefully that helps. We're coming to the end of the hour. That's kind of why I'm winding down. I didn't mean to run out of gas on you guys, but there's a lot. Our service, let me touch on this. Our installation crews. Oh, don't worry. We've already sold the job, Pete. It don't matter. We got $12,000 to replace that system. It does matter, because this is where buyer's remorse can come in and hurt you. We did this, and I'll share this one example. We had a job packet. It had all the stuff with the work, all the stuff that's involved, but we had one key element in there, and it was a manual, an actual paper document of a satisfaction survey. It had 5 questions in there, yes or no, and it had comments. Were the technicians clean? Did they clean up after themselves? Did they explain the system operation? Did they do this? Did they do that? And then the comments. And within the job packet, when the lead installer was explaining everything, he laid it out. This is a survey. Please let us know how we did. And actually, there's an envelope. It's already stamped. It's already addressed. All you have to do is fill this out, fold it up, put it in there, and put it in your mailbox, and it's on its way, right? Make it really easy for your customer. And I spiffed, or basically gave them money as a reward for doing a great job. For every yes they got on doing things right, there was a monetary amount attached to that lead tech and that helper. Yes, 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 yes was money. And if they got comments on there that was really good, Pete, where did you get these guys? These were fantastic. And on, they got a bigger one. Every job, my installers got killer money, but let me tell you, they called. First time we'd incorporated this, the guy calls me up. I sold the job. Pete, yes, sir. Your guys are out here doing this job. Yes, sir. Where in the hell did you get these guys? I swear that's the way he said it. And I said, is everything okay? He said, okay, these guys are incredible. My guys, they're out there sweeping the garage. They're doing this, they're doing that. They're putting grass seed around the condensing unit. They put straw down. They did this. So all this stuff was being done. He was amazed. Where did you find these guys? And all we did was we changed our process, and we included our team financially and rewarded them, not just us. And I guarantee you, we got referrals from these guys. Do not call anybody else. If you wanted to, that your customer doesn't understand pulling a vacuum or proper line sizing for the gas delivery, or for the gas coming in, or the flue gas, or the combustion air, all the different things that you need, all they know is what they see and what they're interpreting by the interaction with these people that are representing you. So if we get that right, do a really good process, then the message has been communicated. Just like the guy that pulled up with the clean vehicle and all the tools, and the customer said, this is going to cost me. He didn't know what he was looking at, but he perceived the value. And so that's what that's about. Let's see here. Running process. I've got a question. So what are the questions you asked? I can share that with you, Mike. Just hit me up. Oh, but let me just shoot this in there. HVAC Greatness. I'm at a Gmail. For those of you who are not on the list, all of your trainers that have been in this session, including the one tomorrow, they're going to give you a free gift. Most of you already have. I know I have to repeat this because we still have new people. Mike, if you would, send me an email, hvacgreatness@gmail.com. No dot, I didn't do the hvacgreatness.com just because I use Google Documents and all that stuff. It's just a lot easier. hvacgreatness@gmail.com. And if you want to send me an email, hey, Pete, give me my free gifts. That's good. I'll add you to that list. I'll be putting that out here in a day or two. I've got to wait. I've got 1 or 2 more gifts I'm waiting on these other guys, but hopefully that's good. Some more questions before we wrap up. I'm rushing through because we're a little bit over. and I don't want to go too long on this. Pete, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. Give me some feedback. What the heck are you talking about there?
Well, I think the whole thing's been phenomenal, actually, Pete. I've learned quite a bit myself.
Oh, gosh. George, you're my new best friend.
But no, seriously, you know, I don't know. You think you know it all, and then all of a sudden, bam, there's something new being slung at you. So
yeah,
and I'm always, if I have to sit all day to pick up one nugget out of a seminar, I'm the kind of person that'll do that.
I love that. I love that. You see, I'm not want to fan your flame over there, but guys, that's the difference. If you're going to grow, you got to humble yourself and say, okay, do I know it all? 37 years I've been in HVAC, and I still learn, Now, what I do know is what I've learned from the ground up, because I've walked a mile in your shoes. I guarantee it. Dude, I know. I've stressed it. I've worried about payroll. I've worried about tax deposit. I've worried about what they're going to do on Monday because that job canceled. Now what the hell am I going to do? I've said hell twice. I'm sorry. But the point is, I understand that. And that's why, I think there's tremendous value, because we have guys with marketing experience, and they come over in our industry and they help us. And we have people with sales experience, and they come over in our industry and they help us. But where it actually fits in correctly with what we deal with up in that attic, I hate sending my guys up in those attics or under that crawl space down by the river. And I've already seen 2 baby snakes in there, the little ones, and water moccasins or copperheads or who knows. It's not an easy job. And we have to implement systems that are taking care of both of our customers, the ones that pay the bills and the ones that get the job done. Those are our customers. And so it's making that mesh properly. It's just so important. And I know you guys, I'm speaking to the choir here. Mark asks, if someone during the summer needs a humidifier and says they like a UV light, but does not buy, how do you notate that, and how do you follow up with them? Joe talked about that. He talked about scheduling an appointment. He could schedule anybody. I always use a tickler file. In other words, every one of my invoices in the recommendations section, my team was trained. You put recommendations down, and if you can't find the recommendations because it's a brand new install, and we did it because I've never been on any of these jobs where there's not something that they need, at least a maintenance agreement. But there's general recommendations that can make that homeowner happier, make their system safer, or last longer, or restore better capacity, or whatever the situation is. We said at least 3 recommendations. And we made them initial right here that you've declined this. Now, I declined it, the little things that we did. And then when it got slow, we pulled all these copies, and we go back and we revisit every one of them. Let's see here. Needs a humidifier, says UV light. Okay. So, Mr. Jones, back in July, when Mark was out here, he was looking at that UV light. You didn't take advantage of it at the time. Guess what's on sale this month? We're running a promotion on that. How would you like him to come out there and put it in this month, for example, right? So this gives you ammunition for the slow season.
Hey,
Cool.
Pete, how's it going?
Hey, Dennis.
Hey, I just wanted to make a comment on what you were talking early on in the training about, the way we communicate, the way we dress, the way we act. There's so many systems that we can implement to make these better, and a lot of times that can become really overwhelming. Systems in-house, out-house. I think one of the first steps that can really produce results really quickly, and it's really easy to implement, is set expectations. Talk to your inside staff, your techs, the way they dress, and say, you know what? Maybe I haven't been clear before. This is what's actually expected of you as an employee when you're interacting with the customers. Because as business owners, and I know I've done it plenty of times, I've just assumed people know what I'm thinking. And a lot of times they don't. So kind of set those expectations up front, saying this is how you're expected to dress, how you're expected to act, how you're expected to communicate. And a lot of times that could kind of fill that void while you're implementing all the systems.
Thank you. Excellent point. Now, if you're more the carrot type leader than the stick, here's an idea to support what Dennis just said. I think Joe gave the example of, this is the way we do it here. So, maybe we didn't explain things. This is the way we do it here. I know you did it a different way, but over here, this is the way we do it. And I just kind of want to explain that to you, maybe give you about 5 minutes to think about that. I'm going to run out and grab a cup of coffee and be right back so they can simmer, right? That's a good angle. Another one that somebody taught me years ago, and I never forgot this one, was, hey, Dennis, I've been talking to you a good bit about that, about the way you've been dressing and everything else, and you're still coming in with that stuff, and I apologize. It is totally my fault. I thought that I explained it, and I clearly didn't. So let's talk about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at your uniforms, and we expect this and that and the other and this, that, and the other, right? Okay, great. I'm glad we talked. I apologize I didn't explain it properly last time. Then they come back and they do it again, and then you pull them back in. Dennis, come back in here. I apologize. Evidently, I didn't explain this properly. Come on back in here. Let's talk again and repeat, And it was just a kind of a passive-aggressive way of getting the point across without saying, you straighten this stuff up or you are out of here, that kind of stuff. So
you do it the exact way I do it. Perfect. I love it.
Okay, so we picked that up from the same school of thought. Probably it might have been because you work for Carrier, right? I think I work with Lennox, so at one point, but maybe we had some similar stuff there in the training. But good stuff. Any more questions, comments, input, critiques? No? Well, I'm going to end the recording right here with your blessings, and I want to thank everybody for attending. We're going to be posting this up in the Facebook private group, HVAC Greatness. For those of you who are not aware, we have also created a playlist over on Facebook. So for those of you who couldn't catch all of this, that's okay. We're going to put it in there. They're going to be in order. You just click video 1 and watch it in your leisure, and you'll go through the entire 10 hours plus as is convenient for you, and hopefully you'll benefit from this, and hopefully you'll want more. Just like George said, he sits through looking for that one nugget. And I'm going to tell you, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not blowing wind on his flame or trying to inflate him. That my best students back in the sales days, that's what they did. And you're the best when you start doing that kind of stuff. So I appreciate you, George. I appreciate all you guys attending, and I hope to see you on tomorrow. Tomorrow will be Kelly McKay, and he's going to go into all these different things because he is a contract, all the things that he's implementing, including the Google guarantee that was mentioned and several other aspects of processes as well. He's going to talk about the way he does it. And so we can compare notes, see what you like, take it, what you don't, reject it, and hopefully we'll all get better in the process. Okay. Pete Ramsey here. We will talk to you next time. And